and welcome to In One Day with Lisa, Eric, Lisa. I
Welcome.
love that every time I say hello to everybody, I'm going to change the order of the
Right.
name who comes
There
first.
you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So great to have you guys with us again today. Today, this topic is a little bit, it's a little bit tougher. I think this, and it resonates with many of us. And it seems to be something that is increasing in society today. And today we're focused on suicide and awareness of suicide. So just recently in the news, we were talking about some of these, celebrity figures. Twitch, which just came in the news,
Mhm.
and someone actually that you knew.
Yeah, in the
Um,
fitness
mhm,
industry. His name was Eric the trainer, and it's known like at the beginning, everyone wasn't too sure exactly what happened, but that he took his life. And it was extremely shocking to the fitness world because this guy was the male version younger than Jack LaLanne
mhm,
or Richard Simmons,
mhm,
like just a beautiful, bright white light, such an amazing personality,
mhm.
always inspiring, always motivating. And when I met him for the first time and talked to him on the phone, I was like, wow, I thought I was this bright white light and so motivational. I was like, this guy is on fire.
Mhm.
And then it was just shocking that he took his life. And we did find out he was suffering tremendously from PTSD, which we've talked about a
Mhm.
lot with
Absolutely.
military. He had a military background.
Mhm.
And I hate to say it like that because I think the military is amazing and they do so much for our country. But a lot of military people suffer
Quietly.
quietly, silently. I was trying to
Mhm.
say quiet and silent at the
Right.
same time. Quietly over this PTSD, then they don't get help and they end up taking their lives.
Right. And I am ex-military. I served in the military for 10 and a half years total. But and when you take that into perspective, in the military, you're being trained to be elite. You're to be on the forefront, to not complain, to be battle ready constantly. And you tend to harden yourself. And I
Mm.
think that PTSD is one of those things that's so debilitating because you're also battling that internal person that you've become, to not ask for help, to be on the ready, to be strong in the face of everything. But really on the inside, they could be suffering so much.
And it's definitely a known statistic
Mhm.
that men are more in, they're more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Susceptible? Sure.
Susceptible to suicide. Thank you. Because and it is true. It occurs in more men than women because men stay quiet. They have their pride. They have their ego.
Mhm.
Not all men, but majority of men don't want to reach out for help and talk about it. Like, think about it. This guy, the trainer,
Mhm.
he was so loud and bright and motivational and inspirational that how could he go to one of his male friends and be like, hey, I'm thinking of killing myself or I'm depressed? Because they would look at him like, what do you mean, you're
Right.
our idol, our role model? So he probably felt like, who could he
Who
talk
could he
to?
talk to? Right.
Exactly.
And it is difficult. And a lot of the time, that communication piece and feeling that complete just hopelessness that, no one will understand what I'm going through, or I'm the only one going through this. But the ultimate reality is there's millions of people that are going through this, not the exact same scenario, but they're dealing with a lot of the same issues. And that's one of the big steps, is to seek help. But bigger than that, if you're in that position where you're running into someone or you've come across someone that and you start seeing those tall tale signs, those changes in them, you have to assume you're the only person reaching out and really take that step forward and just ask them, "Are you okay?"
Right. And there are always signs. So I was speaking with a mutual friend who knew him. And I just keep bringing this up because this just occurred
Hmm.
recently. And he was noticing that he wasn't combing his hair the way he used to. He was letting his beard grow.
Hmm.
And he kind of looked like tired and run down. And he never thought of asking, like, hey, what's going on? Because he felt like maybe that would be rude or
Right.
intruding on his privacy or making him feel bad.
Hmm.
But here's the key factor: if you notice little changes in people, ask them, reach
Yeah.
out to them, because most of the time they won't reach out to you.
Hmm.
It's true. You need to kind of probe a little bit to
Yeah,
get to the
just to
heart of
find
the
out what's going
matter.
on. And you know, and once you start doing that, I mean, if someone starts opening up to you, definitely just listen. Like, let them get their entire story out, listen to what they're saying. You know, and we took some tips actually from Mayo, that we're going to go ahead and talk about here, because I think it's important that, you know, even in today, suicide is becoming more and more prevalent, and we're becoming more aware that it's occurring, but it's
Mm,
still, you know, surprising to me that a lot of people don't know how to react to it,
mm.
or how to prevent it. So we wanted to go through some of those things. And, you know, first and foremost, you know, 988 is something that I just learned about as well. 988 is a 24-hour, 7-day a week service. You can text the service, you can call the service, and there's always someone there ready to listen and ready to help.
Yes, and you taught me that,
Hmm.
because I didn't even know that. Now, if you didn't know it and I didn't know it, why don't more people know about it? Why aren't they promoting this
Hmm.
when all these people are, not that you have the exact
Sure.
answer, but I love how I'm like looking for the answer from him. But we should know about these things.
Hmm.
There are so many people right now in our society contemplating suicide,
Hmm.
depressed, lonely, just like financial stress, going through so much ever since the pandemic and the political craziness. It's
Hmm.
just out of control. And what about our children of today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, our children today have, had their entire world flipped upside down. And it's not that we haven't, but, you know, obviously we have years of ups and downs and trials and tribulations. We've learned to manage a lot of these different things. But kids today, I mean, they're faced with so many pressures, in addition to the school closures and everything that was happening. But they're faced with social media, they're faced with cyberbullying. These are things that we didn't grow up with, or at least I didn't. I mean, cyberbullying wasn't something that was prevalent then, but it is today. And they, you know, typically reach out to friends for advice, which is not always the best, you know, thing to do either.
No, and the kids really definitely need more help. So, parents watching us, please be there for your children. Talk to them, ask them questions. When
Mhm.
you see them down and depressed, which my kids are happy kids, but my daughter is an emotional teenage 17-year-old with hormones.
Sure.
And when I see her down and sometimes depressed, I ask her, like, babe, are you okay? What's going on? And I'm not going to be the parent who's like, oh, I don't want to bother her. I don't want to push her. I don't want to just get in her business. No, you need to get in
Hmm.
their business. And if it gets worse and worse and you see them doing drugs or sleeping in or missing class, I hate to say this, but I will go through their phone, invade their privacy, because let me tell you, I've had a lot of friends who did not want to invade the privacy, and really what they come to find out what
Hmm.
their kids were into and doing
Sure.
is just mind boggling. So definitely push, probe, get in their face, ask them the tough questions, because you don't want it to get to the point where they take their life and then what? There's
Sure.
nothing you can do at that point.
Right. And, you know, and that's another thing too, especially when it comes to the children. You know, we're so used to, you know, these big platforms, right? We say TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. And, you know, I think we kind of box ourselves in and say, okay, well, I know what the threats are, or I know that it can only get this far. But, you know, the reality is there's a host of other applications and things that are out there that we have no clue about.
Mm,
You know, one that I just recently saw in the news called Omegle. I don't know if you're familiar with that
mm,
one, but you know, essentially what it does is allows two people to connect, completely anonymously. So it just puts you with someone, and then you're interacting. And
mm.
you know, so they're saying now that sexual predators, and you know, people from that area are starting to invade this application, and they're getting first touch with your children. So you know,
Wow.
if you're not willing to ask the questions, someone else is going to be willing, and that could steer them completely the wrong way.
Yes. And on this subject about probing and pushing and not knowing and trying to sit back and let the person be okay, let me just share something with you that we were talking about. Brian and I have a show called Best Version of You, and we did a suicide awareness show the other
Sure.
day. And he was more expressive and open about his past and what he's been through. And he has been down that road of dark, dark, deep depression,
Hmm.
contemplating suicide. And if you heard his story, you'll know why. And he's going to write a book about it because
Hmm.
it's very interesting. And when he was there, thank God he reached out. Well, no, actually, he wanted to reach out, but didn't reach out. But his mother
Hmm.
knew something was going on and reached out to him right at like the critical moment of time that this was.
Thankfully, right.
Yeah. And because of that, it's like God's will. The mother, if she wouldn't have reached out to him, God only knows what could have happened.
Sure.
And I know, like with me, because depression runs in his family, and there's been a couple of family members who have taken their own
Hmm.
lives. So when I see him like down or quiet, or I will kind of probe a little bit because I need to. And he did share with me one time when he moved to Florida from Oregon and he had back surgery.
Hmm.
And the doctor had told us that he will get depressed during this
Short
very
term,
severe
absolutely.
back
Right.
surgery. And then he had a job, and the job let him go. And that's a whole nother story of medical problems.
Hmm.
But he was going through so much. He moved from Oregon to Florida. And anyway, he was starting to go down the road of a bit of depression.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I have never been with someone like that as far as a spouse or a boyfriend. So how much do I push? How much do I not? And I did gently say to him one day, Brian, I think you should go and talk to someone. And he did.
Hmm.
And luckily he did, and he thanked me for it.
Hmm.
And when this happened with Eric, the trainer, I asked Brian, like, was it good that I reached out? Was it not? And he said, for sure.
Right.
That he's so happy that I reached out and told him, go get help before he spiraled back down into a familiar territory that he's
Right.
been in.
Absolutely. And I mean, and ultimately, I think that a majority of people that are faced with that decision of suicide, I mean, ultimately, is what they're needing is help,
Mm,
and it's that hopelessness that's really driving them to the suicide. So,
mm,
going with that, a couple of the things that Mayo Clinic mentions. First of all, there's a couple of factors that lead to suicide, and these can be health factors, environmental factors, historical factors as well, like you were mentioning PTSD. But from the
mm,
health perspective, depression, substance abuse, bipolar disorders, anxiety disorders, serious physical health conditions, including pain, like you were mentioning with the back surgery. I'm
mm,
sure that the
right.
recovery process must have been very difficult. Not to mention, the addition of prescription drugs and everything to get added
Mm,
on to that.
right.
The environmental factors, prolonged stress. I mean, I think in today's climate, I think we're all stressed to some
Mm.
degree. COVID changed everything for all of us.
Yes, no, for sure. It definitely, and getting back to Brian, I'll make this one shorter,
Hmm.
is the stress of moving
Right.
from Oregon to Florida, then blending families, then having 100% custody of his son,
Hmm.
which for a man is a little bit harder than a woman, I think. But
Hmm.
that's a whole nother subject. Then the back surgery, then losing his job. And all his family's in Oregon, and he has me here, which is
Right.
great, but he needs more of a support
Right.
system.
That
So
familiarity with his
yeah,
family and
like when
everything. Sure.
everything comes very bottom, like boggled down, it's the stress that really is a killer. And he wasn't suicidal, but he was sinking into a depressed state.
Hmm.
So when you see your significant other or your sibling or your child or your friend kind of spiraling down before they get to rock bottom is when you need to ask the questions. Are you okay? Do you
Hmm.
need someone to talk to? Here's a number to call. Go see a therapist. Something. Go to church.
Hmm.
Religion is a great thing.
Yeah.
Have faith.
That's right. I mean, just getting them out there and having them seek that help. And there's so many different channels out there that, like just like you mentioned, and like I said, there's websites out there that you can go to get some more of this information, and really just start looking for those signs. Like Lisa was just mentioning, if they have those signs of feeling hopeless, they talk about killing themselves. Maybe they say how they're a burden on others, or they don't
Mm,
see what they can contribute to anything. Those are all very tall tale signs, And again, the behavior, you know, are they starting to drink more? Did they stop shaving their face when they're someone who is typically very clean cut? Are they isolating themselves from friends and family? Are they more aggressive, or are they giving their things away? These are all things that, you know, are automatic signs that something is not right.
Right. And talking about drinking alcohol. So we know already from, if you're watching in one day episodes, that Mr. Eric here likes gin
Yes.
and I like my wine, but we do it in moderation. So let me tell you, if you're depressed, if you're lonely, if you're sad, if you're going through a rough time, you lost your job, you lost your wife, someone in your family died, whatever it is, take time to work on yourself without the drugs and
Hmm.
alcohol, because too many prescription drugs are prescribed to people. Here, pop this pill, pop that pill. You'll feel better with this. Drug your kids so they're less hyper, whatever.
Hmm.
Run and go get, well, I don't know if we could swear in here, but go get drunk. Go get stoned, high, whatever it is. Those things are depressants and are actually going to make you
Hmm.
worse. So if you're spiraling down and you don't have a support system and you want to just escape reality by numbing your pain, all it is going to do is prolong your healing process.
Hmm.
So don't do that.
Well, and then it's a dependency as well, you know, and taking a step outside of that, you know, I have a lower back issue. And
Mhm.
one of the things that was offered to me, this is kind of off to the side, but it'll relate in the end. But, you know, they wanted to do cortisone injections to take
Mhm.
away the pain. But, you know, in the end, I thought about it and I was like, well, you know, if you numb the pain, I don't realize it's there. And then I'm going to be doing all these kinds of movements and things I shouldn't. And then when it wears off, the pain is going to be that much worse. And I think that it kind of relates to the same. So when you take that glass of alcohol, when you take that, you know, prescription medicine, whatever the case may be, which I think in some cases can be helpful, but it's always moderation and balance. In the end, when that stuff wears off, the core issue still remains because it doesn't solve that; it just blankets it. So, I
Mhm.
mean, you really have to work on your internal, and if it's someone you know, you got to help them find that help and seek that help so that they can work on themselves as well.
Yes. And going back to Brian again,
Hmm.
when we met, he was in Oregon and I was in Florida, and
Hmm.
he was going through a horrific divorce and a custody battle over his son that he has now 100%. And during that time, we would talk on the phone every day for hours,
Hmm.
and he had already found himself before we met. Luckily, it
Sure.
wasn't like me saving him or anything. He had already turned his life around, started healing himself, reading, exercising. But one thing I said to him one night on the phone, which really stuck with him to this day,
Hmm.
that I want to share with all of you: to embrace the dark moments in your life. Don't push the dark moments away.
Hmm.
Because, like we were saying before, we all want a quick fix. We all want to take a pill to feel better, lose weight, whatever it is. Don't take a quick fix when it has to do with depression and turning your life around, because when you hit the dark moments and you can embrace them and work through those moments, it only takes you closer to the light and
Hmm.
to the better moments of your life.
Right. And that actually goes to what I was going to say is, you know, there's a saying that you can't appreciate the light without the darkness. And those dark moments are temporary. And sometimes we forget that. You know, when you really take stock in everything that's transpired in your life and you look back at all those difficult moments, but you're here standing, you know, you're still standing, you're still strong, and the moments have always been temporary. So, you know, all in all, that's a constant reminder you have to give yourself. Know that there's people around you that love you. There's so many different avenues to seek help and to find things, and really just reach out when you need it.
And nothing in life comes easy. Let's talk a couple moments of
Hmm.
you in the business world,
Sure.
me in the fitness and TV world and
Hmm.
radio. And like, it's everything that you put forth a lot of effort, and you have to kind of struggle
Hmm.
and fail and go bankrupt, and whatever it is you have to go through. When you get to the end of the race or the middle of the race or the end of the tunnel, however you want to say it.
Mhm.
And it's that much better because you struggled so much. It's so worth it.
Absolutely. And then you realize how strong you really are. And
Hmm.
that, but it takes, those lessons, and I call them lessons because you can look at them as failures, you can look at them in so many different ways. But if you really just look at it as a lesson, it really gives it that positive spin to say, look, I learned from that. I won't do that again. And I can move on and move forward, because the ultimate reality, again, you're still here, you're standing, you still have the ability to move forward. So take those moments to really, seek the light, or seek the silver lining in that cloud, and really push forward.
Right. And if you do have faith, which you should, everybody out there should. I'm not preaching religion, whatever it is, you believe in a ball of energy, God, a higher power. If you have the faith and you really could believe in that faith, then when that boyfriend dumps you, or girlfriend or husband cheats on you, or wife, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and you're like so depressed and you can't understand why this happened and how you're going to get through it, have faith and know that one door closes and another beautiful door opens. Same
Right.
with a job.
Hmm.
If you lose your job and you have no idea how you're going to pay your bills, just have faith and do, of course, do something about it, but have the faith, and something beautiful will occur.
Hmm.
Maybe not when you want it to occur at that exact moment, but
But
in
it's coming.
divine's
Absolutely, it
timing.
is coming. So, so what do you do if you come across someone that you think is contemplating suicide? And this is a couple of quick notes here for you. So, first of all, again, have an honest conversation. Listen to their story, let them know you care, and ask them directly, have you thought about suicide? But ask them calmly and without any judgment at all, and take those concerns seriously. Definitely encourage them to seek that treatment, whether it's their local doctor, maybe a doctor or someone of trust, just to really look out and seek help. And again, assume you're the only person there to help, because you never really know. In most cases, they've isolated themselves. You might be the only person they've opened up to, and
Mm.
you really need to take stock in that and try to walk them through that. So what do you do next? First of all, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the number 1-800-273-8255. We're going to put this information on our website in addition to here on the screen. You can also text talk to 741-741, and there's people there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in addition to the 988, which I mentioned before, that you can reach out to as well.
Yeah, and I love what you said about judgment. So, a little story, there was someone in my past that I dated that I just remembered about,
Hmm.
who was talking about suicide, but I really didn't believe him. I was in
Hmm.
my 20s. I thought he was just saying it because of, attention and
Right, to grab
maybe
attention,
feel
or
sorry
to
for him.
right. Mhm.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, come on." And now looking back, he was serious and I kind of did judge him.
Mhm.
I didn't push him away or make fun of him or anything, but I myself have never thought of suicide, and I very rarely get depressed. I do get down, I do go through dark moments. I'm not like abnormal, but I can't relate
Mhm.
to that. But I've learned as a psychologist and all of my life coaching clients that I've had,
Mhm.
I've learned how to not judge and not compare myself to the person.
Right.
And like what you said, just listen to what they're saying and have compassion for them and know that they're not you. You're
Mhm.
two totally different people. And there are so many people suffering in silence today,
Absolutely.
so many people suffering. Please just listen to them and don't judge them. It's so important.
So one last tidbit that I wanted to add on to there. So the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention has chapters that are located around the entire country. So if you go to their website, you can go on there. You can see how you can volunteer to help people who may be in need or help their operations. They also have events as well. So they do walkathons and things like that to raise awareness. There's also something called the Circle of Hope, where you can actually donate and help support what they're doing. So many different ways to be involved. Even if you're not surrounded by someone who's going through this, you can still help. Just take the moment to educate yourself, so that maybe one day, if you do come across this, you can help someone go through that process.
Yes, I love that. And remember, life is not easy.
Mm.
It is many ups and downs, ebbs and flows, trials and tribulations. But remember, there always is a rainbow at the end of the tunnel. If you really truly believe
Mhm.
that, you will definitely get through the darkness and get closer to the light. And like you said, become a stronger person.
Absolutely. So, once again, we hope this information was helpful. And if you are in need of help yourself, please seek that help. Again, on our website, in1day.tv, will be up here soon. But you'll be able to email us and reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to assist if you find yourself in that position and help point you in the right direction. Thank you for being a part of our show once again with Lisa and myself. And we look forward to seeing you guys here again in the near future.
Yes, thank you. And reach out to us if you need for free. We're not going to charge. I'm a life coach. I'm here for anyone who really has hit rock bottom and needs help. Please reach out to us.
Absolutely. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.